and I always feel weird introducing people. It's awkward to start it. It is awkward. But it's okay. I know. Okay, so.
Hi, man. Welcome to the Wanderless Wandermore show with your host, Christy Candelario, a movement for life, for freedom in life. Watch it. Wanderless, Wandermore, expert advices for sure. Wanderless, Wandermore, helping you become an entrepreneur. Wanderless, Wandermore, travel around the world, let us go explore. Wanderless, Wandermore, expert advices for sure. Come and be guided and supported by this podcast show. We give enough insight just to help you grow. Special guest experts, business adventures about great lifestyles and so much more. Launching, transforming and leveling up businesses globally since 2012. Stay tuned and wonder less so you can wonder more. Yeah, man.
Welcome back to the Wanderpreneur show. Today I have Brittany Basham with me. We actually went to high school together. We were on the cheer squad at San Marcos High School in San Marcos, Texas. So now you know where I grew up. But anyways, she is on the show today, not because she's a business owner or a life coach or anything else like that, but I invited her on the show because I have seen her post like amazing photos and stuff like that about her journeys through like South America and Europe. And I always felt like I was a little jealous about her really cool backpacking adventure. So I wanted to bring her on to talk about her South America backpacking trip through the mountains and stuff like that. I mean, she's going to be able to introduce herself and tell you way more about it, but that is what I wanted to say. And for any of you that don't know who I am, my name is Christy Candelario, and I'm a business freedom strategist coach that helps people wander less and wander more through their dream life by helping them start a real legit online business. So Brittany, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Brittany Basham. I am a teacher. Currently, I teach 5th grade English language arts, and I spend my summer traveling every summer. I pick a place to go, and I take a backpack, the necessities, and I travel on local transportation and just go and try to immerse myself into the nature, into the culture. I don't like to say that I know the culture, but I like to enjoy it and experience as much as I can of it and just try to learn as much as I can while I'm traveling and on a budget considering I'm a teacher.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I think it's going to be cool to hear some of your tips on how you budget because traveling can be expensive. Definitely. I think I even reached out to you and asked you how much you spent, or I asked you some tip like, how did you get your flight so cheap or something? And I was just like, what? You traveled there for that cost? How did you do that? So it's awesome having you here today. And so you just mentioned that you go for the whole summer. So can you tell our listeners how long you go?
I left Austin May 27th, and I flew into Bogota, Colombia. And then I flew home August 6th out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Yeah, so you go for the whole summer.
Yes, the whole summer.
That is insane. I don't even know how I could last that long. I mean, I love to travel. And I'm about to, in January, I traveled every single week almost.
I saw that.
Yeah, awesome. Like all over North America.
I'm so jealous. I'm slaving away. Well, I did go snowboarding over the winter break, but
yeah. And then in August, I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be going to Mexico, coming back here, and like the next day or 2 days after that, I'm hopping on the plane to go over to Scotland. And I'm like, I get drained going that long. But here you are backpacking, budgeting, and going away for the whole freaking summer.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you're in South America, so we flew into Bogota, and from Bogota, Colombia to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil is about 5,000 miles without going in every other side trip that we were taking. So a lot of local transportation is like key to keeping your budget low. It can be intimidating in South America, when you go to a bus station, you're not going to be able to buy a bus ticket outright from a vendor because all of the tickets will be bought out by people, and you have to haggle and try to get a ticket. There'll be people walking around yelling like, La Paz, La Paz, La Paz, La Paz, or Cartagena, 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 like, where are you going? And so you have to like haggle with people, and they see like 2 gringo females like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some more money for this. So before you go and you buy a ticket from a person and pay what they tell you to pay, you go and ask somebody who is not selling tickets, who's also traveling, how much should I pay for a ticket? Like, what's the most that I should pay? They'll tell you, oh, I would pay this, but don't pay more than 15 sols, or, you know, in the country that you're in, it's, and that's like one way to do it. Another way to, of course, local transportation is always going to be cheaper. And if you're, you know, smart when you try to buy your tickets and stuff, that's a great way to save money.
That's really interesting. And then I feel like one time you mentioned to me about how you almost bought something online. Wasn't that a bus ticket?
Yes. We bought a bus ticket online in Bolivia, and it was traveling to Brazil. Brazil, Chile, and Argentina are very different from the northern South American countries. There's a huge culture clash. Like, whenever we got off the bus in Brazil, I was a bit bewildered, and it felt like I was in Europe. The way things were. It was like a huge change from Peru, where, you know, Colombia and Ecuador, where it felt completely, you know, like different from stepping off the bus into Brazil. And in Brazil, you can go online and get a bus ticket, and like you would be able to in America. You can. We were in Bolivia, and it was a Brazilian bus company. And so we thought, okay, we can just book our bus online. Like, this is fantastic. We won't have to get up there and haggle, and we'll know when our bus is. We won't have to go up there and haggle for a ticket and not know if it's going to be until tomorrow, or if it's going to be 7 hours later, or we'll just know exactly when we need to get the bus, and it'll be fantastic. We get there, that bus does not exist.
Oh my gosh.
And
you were scammed.
Yeah, of course we were scammed. Yes. That bus does not exist. That bus wasn't going anywhere. And they weren't telling us this. And it was a night bus. And so it was late at night. They weren't telling us. They were just ignoring us. And finally, I heard somebody say in Spanish under their breath, like, stupid gringo, that bus does not exist. And I said, what? And I grabbed their arm and I said, really? Like, it doesn't exist.
Did they say that? Do you know Spanish?
No, but I knew enough. I learned a lot of Spanish while I was there. I couldn't, just so much has happened since I've been back, and I haven't been practicing, that I couldn't put it into, like, again. You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. And I can understand a whole lot more than I can actually speak. So I said, like, really? You know, like, see what you just said, you know, is that true? And he was like, yeah, you know, like, that bus isn't coming. And we had traveled to La Paz, which is literally translates into the pass. And it's like where all of the major roads in South America meet together. And it's a very dangerous place. And we were stuck there at night without a bus. I really don't want to talk about, like, stressful things in this, but so, you know, like,
hey, it's like a crazy story.
I don't want to put a negative experience on traveling to South America, because that's not what at all that I feel. But these things can happen.
Yeah.
When you're traveling. And these things happen when you're traveling. Your bus doesn't exist. Your hostel that you were going to stay at is booked. You got to go find somewhere else to stay. You know, all these things happen, but you just kind of have to go with the flow. And you can't, if you're backpacking, you can't really plan things like out. Like, I'm going to stay at this hostel, then this one, and this one, and then this one. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get delayed by something that you don't have control over. And then all of the things you booked are, like, done because you're already a day late and it put everything out. So you just have to, like, when we flew into Colombia, we had one night at a hotel booked. And it's because we flew in late at night and we went straight to the hotel, crashed. We'd both been on planes for a while. And
so that was the only reservation
you made?
you made?
Reservation that we made.
Out of the whole summer from May to August?
Except for the Inca Trail. You have to book the Inca Trail like a year in advance, or like at least 6 months, because they only let a certain amount of number of people book the Inca Trail a year so that it stays well preserved. And you can, of course, you can just go to Machu Picchu and just take the train there. But the like original Inca Trail is one of the oldest traveling paths of humans in history, and they want to keep it preserved. So instead of having just thousands of people just trample through it, you have to sign up for a slot and you get a ticket ahead of time, and it's very official. The Peruvian government, like, I had to contact the embassy, American embassy twice to help me try and get this.
So speaking of that, how do you reach out and contact them? Like, is it easy to find it online, or how would someone go about that?
Yeah. If you want to book a Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, so what you would do is you would pick which direction you want to hike to Machu Picchu from, and you would pick a company in Brazil that you want to do it with, because you have to have a guide. You are not allowed to hike it without a guide. It's very dangerous. A lot of it is like rock climbing, to be honest, like without any like harnesses or anything. You're like scaling down the side of this mountain to get to Machu Picchu. And so your guide will, help you hike through there, and then they'll camp with you. And
how long of a hike is it?
The one that I did was a little bit longer. It's normally 4 days, just the original Inca Trail. But what I did is I hiked the Salcantay Mountain over the Salcantay Pass, and then on the other side of the Salcantay Pass is where the original Inca Trail starts. So I did like 2 days of hiking before I got to the actual start of the Inca Trail. And so it took us 6 days.
That's so cool.
5 days of hiking, and then we spent the last day at Machu Picchu. And so you're
cool.
hiking, and what we did is, me and the girl that I was traveling with, Nellie, we had just us two and a guide. And it was probably one of the more expensive things that we did, but we wanted to book it ahead of time, and we didn't want to get stuck with like a bunch of uni kids, like college kids, or like random just like Girl Scout troop, or like you don't know like who we get stuck with.
Yeah.
So having our own guide, just us two hiking, and hiking the trail is extremely difficult. If you're going to do it, you must have hiking boots. There was nobody that didn't have hiking boots. I had them. I bought some before we started, and most people do it with like hiking sticks too, and like lots of gear. It's incredibly difficult. It doesn't.
Can you describe how pretty it was there? How beautiful it was?
Incredible. There, whenever you are on the last day of the hike, you can see Machu Picchu, and it's just these incredible mountains of just, they're so vertical. Like on one side, just straight up and down, jungle. The first day we're in ice and snow, and the next day you're in the jungle. And then
that's wild.
It gets hot really quickly once you start getting closer to Machu Picchu, and you're like, oh my gosh, you have to be super prepared for it to be extremely cold. On the first night, it was negative 14 degrees in our tent. And our tent was frozen. It was like stuck sideways in the morning because the wind was blowing it, and then it froze. It was like stuck to the side. It was so hard to get out of the sleeping bag that first morning. It was so cold, but the next day we were getting closer, and it was getting hot. It was very hot at Machu Picchu.
That's crazy that you can go from negative 14 degrees to a hot summer day in the jungle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy. In only 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Salcantay Pass is at 20,000 feet elevation, and I would spend at least 3 to 4 days in Cusco before your trail starts, because Cusco is at a high elevation, the biggest city close to it. That'll help you acclimate to the
So you don't get sick from being up
some
high.
people were throwing up, some people were hallucinating, like at the top of Tapantai Pass. It's just like, I didn't struggle with it much. I struggled with it in Ecuador when we hiked Quilatola and Cotopaxi, which are volcanoes, and it was really tough. I struggled with the altitude sickness, but I think we were just going on hike after hike after hike, that my body got acclimated to it. And I was glad, because our longest hike was the Machu Picchu hike.
Yeah, I'm happy you didn't stay sick for all of that either. That's the longest one. That would suck.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Wow. So it seems like, it seems very rewarding to go on a backpack adventure.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm more of the backpack during the day, stay at the hotel at the night. Not like a 5-star resort or anything, but I don't picture myself as a camper, but I know that there's other people out there that are, and I have camped in the past. It's just something I don't necessarily do, but the hike sounds so cool and worth it for me to try camping out again.
It's definitely worth it. Some of the two like underrated countries that people don't typically think of when you're traveling to South America are Colombia and Ecuador that I went to. Everybody talks about going to Brazil, Argentina, and Peru, of course. Peru's been doing tourism since the 80s when Machu Picchu became very popular for people to go to. But Colombia and Ecuador were very, very special to me, because the way that people treated us there was just incredible. I can't, it's hard to explain, and it's also hard to, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. Like, for example, in Peru, most of the locals just kind of, ignored you, like, oh, another tourist, typical. In Colombia, you'd be walking down the streets, and first thing I noticed was the police officers always gave us very concerned looks. That's the first thing that I noticed. And then locals would look at us, and then within the first day, hey, gringo, like, just a lot of people looked at us because they hadn't seen white people with blonde hair before, or like children would like grab our hair in public, or they don't have a lot of concept of personal space.
Yeah, no, I know that about like Ecuador and Colombia.
Yeah.
Like, there are no boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like Americans, we like to only keep close people within like an arm's reach, and then strangers we want like 2 arms out, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Whereas they're like, they can like be shoulder to shoulder talking and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they'll come up to you and touch you, and one thing that really struck me was on our first day in Bogota, the capital city of Colombia, we kind of went off the grid a little bit too far. What I say by that is, when you're traveling somewhere, you don't know where is safe and where is not safe. You can be in a completely safe area and then turn down a wrong street, and whoops, this isn't where we need to be. Every single time that happened in Colombia and in Ecuador, a local would literally come running, gringo, no, and they would literally say, come with me, in Spanish or in English.
They try to keep you from going into a bad spot.
Yeah, they literally were concerned for our safety, not in a bad way. Like, I think that they wanted us to have a good experience in Colombia.
Well, that's really sweet of them to like protect you.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is, in Ecuador, I met a fellow school teacher who is an Ecuadorian citizen, and he teaches in Ecuador. And he told me and my friend Nellie that I want to show you my country. I want to show you my city. I want to show you like what I love about this country, and I want you to experience it truly. And we were a little bit nervous at first, like going with some random person that we had met, and, typical classic story, you hear like 2 girls like go off with somebody, it's dangerous. So we decided to ask our hostel mates, the girls that were sleeping in the bunk beds with us. And we show up with 6 other girls. And they go back, and they're like, oh, we don't have a car. And I was like, it's okay. Like, they can get a taxi. It's fine. And they said, no. We'll be back in 15 minutes. They come back with their mother's van, load us all up in there. And this is supposed to be a few hours, but they take us to every waterfall that tourists don't really know about. It's like a drive in the
How
hike.
cool.
And then the craziest part is, then they took us on this drive and we were like, where are we going? We have been in here for like an hour. Where are they going? They're telling us where we're going.
Were you scared?
Not really. I was like skeptical, but I was like, okay. I know these guys are like, nice, and it was him and his like cousin that came along, and we showed up to this abandoned theme park, and he knocks on the door, and it's clearly been closed for like years. It's like overgrown, and like one of those things that you see on Facebook, like abandoned theme park pictures or like something like that. And we're just like, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, we've got some gringos. Can we give you some money and just like let us in here? And they're like, yeah. And so they just like open the gate, and it was incredible. This like jungle, overgrown, this like old resort theme park. And there was this, in the rainforest, there's these trees every mile or so. There's one huge tree that stands up over all of the rest, and the rest are at one level.
Yeah.
So it comes up over the canopy, and there was a big tree house that you could climb up to at the top of one of those tall trees.
And that's where they took you?
Yeah. And so we climbed, and they said, we came here as a kid when it was a park, when it was open, but the view is incredible. And so you climbed up. It was a bit wobbly, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh boy. This old tree house that we're climbing up, but it was an adventure. It was awesome. We climb up to the top, and you can just see like the rainforest and the mountains and some of the waterfalls, just like where we were at when this happened with Banos. It's like a place that's known for waterfalls and hot water springs and stuff on the edge of the rainforest.
That sounds really cool.
So it was just incredible. They just wanted, and they told us like all about Ecuador, like where to go, and they were like, make sure you don't go here, make sure you go here. They just wanted us to have a good time in their country and to see their country for what it is, not for the favelas or for the poverty and all of those things that
that like it's known
like,
for people like judge it and like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
I don't want to go there. Yeah.
Or those like terrible news lines where you see where, British woman is missing from, they don't want that. They want, show a positive.
I mean, every country has its flaws.
Yeah. I mean people come
even
to
us in America, we have issues here.
A few years ago, South by Southwest people came and from out of the States and were hurt there. It doesn't have, it's not,
Yeah.
They're just trying to fix that.
That's how, like when we love going to Mexico, but we like going and hanging out like downtown with the locals. We're super, we trust pretty much anybody. We'll believe them, which could be a bad thing, but most of the times it turns out in our favor. Yeah. We trust the right people. And when we're going out and about listening to them and they're like, here, take the shortcut, just follow me down this alleyway, or here, hop in the car, here, hand me your money and I'll get you the tickets because that's my friend up there at the booth and now you won't have to wait in line, like things like that. And I mean, most people, they would tell us like, you're doing what in Mexico? Like stay on the resort property. Mexico's dangerous. And I'm like, Mexico is not dangerous. Like maybe if I'm going to a dangerous place, but I'm not in that environment.
It's just like another place. And all that, I'm just gonna say propaganda, about don't leave America because it's scary outside our borders. It's just ridiculous, like.
Don't believe the media unless it's this media.
Yeah.
I had to watch what I was saying.
There's good and bad people everywhere, and you can always tell when somebody has bad intentions when you're traveling, and you can always tell when somebody has good intentions, when you're traveling.
That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, definitely. And even when we're out and about, like, I mean, when we're going out at night and it's dark, that's when we typically like really do our homework and research to make sure we are going to go somewhere safe. If we get out of the car, like what's going to happen. kind of thing. What Allie is still safe at night if we're taking a shortcut.
I know. We just
things like that, you know.
Just wing it. You know, you'll be fine.
Well, most of the time we do, but then there's been like sometimes where we were down in Mexico and there was like a lot of issues going on. So we were like, okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is where all the bad stuff's happening. We're going to stay away from those streets. We'll just cut across over here, like things like that. Because most of the time we're either like walking or hopping in like a cab or something like that, or meeting a stranger that's going to the same place and going with them too.
Yeah, speaking of that, one like huge thing about traveling backpacker style is staying in hostels and you meet other people who are also traveling and you just kind of tag along with each other. Oh, you're going there too? Let's, you know, obviously share a taxi, it's cheaper, and you meet so many people from around the world that way, and you have these experiences together that are so incredible. Like those 5 other girls that we tagged on along with, and we're like, come with us for the day, you know, like I talk to them daily, you know, and we just had that one day experience together before we parted our ways. You bond with people on a deeper level. I think that's so cool. You experience something that is
creating like
changing, like
a real memory.
Exactly.
Like not a memory at the resort pool drinking your pina colada or margarita, but like a memory of something that most people in the world will never experience. Like that day that you had with those 5 others, right?
2 Ecuadorians, and then it was 6 total girls, so 6 British. I was the only one.
Like no one else is gonna have those memories other than y'all, like just that small handful, because who else is going to be able to walk up and be like, hey, can I pay you money and go up to the top of the treehouse? Like if I was there, like I would definitely have to have some local that was confident enough to let us in, but like you know? Like I wouldn't even know where to go. Like what would I do? Just go up, I'm looking for the treehouse at the amusement park.
It was very there's like a Casa de Abul, I'm probably not saying it absolutely correctly, is what this little town is known for in Ecuador. It's like the swing at the edge of the world. If you've ever look it up online, it's swing where they're going off the side of the cliff. We went there, but the treehouse that was the old one that was abandoned was the original one of that city, and it was just really cool to
get to go to the old one. And you went to the new one, so that's cool. So what do you think would be like your top tips to help others that are planning like their first backpacking trip? Like let's say it's Brad and I going on our first backpacking trip.
Okay. First off, pack light. Seriously, pack light. Bring your backpack and have it like only 3/4 of the way full, because you're going to want to buy things because things are relatively cheap, and you don't really know what you need until you're there. Because when you're traveling on a long trip, it's going to be cold in some places, it's going to be hot in other places. And you're traveling so much that if you're wearing the same clothes all summer, it doesn't really matter because you're seeing different people all summer. And if your backpack gets heavy, it sucks. It's not fun to carry.
Yeah, you don't want to leave your favorite outfit in the middle of some towns.
So travel light, because I traveled Europe with just my one backpack, and when I went to South America, I packed that thing full because I was like, I'm going to need it to be for cold, for hot, and I regretted it. I seriously regretted it. I should have just packed lighter, like I knew I should have.
Like what? Like for that instance, would you only bring like 1 pair of pants or like 2 pairs of pants instead of?
Yeah, 2 pairs of pants, 4 shirts, 2 sports bras, a pair of hiking boots, and a pair of tennis shoes.
Wow.
Be prepared to have like loops thrown in your schedule. Hostels are super cheap and a great way to like save money. Most hostels in South America were less than $15 a night, except with the exception of Brazil. A lot of times we only paid $7 a night was very typical in like
per person.
Yeah. $7, so it was like $14 for the 2 of us when we were traveling. But $7 was pretty typical. Of course, local transportation is key. I don't think you could make it from Colombia to Brazil without taking local transportation. It's very, unless you were flying from each place, it would be very difficult to make it without taking the local transport. What's this? Know like some of the customs, like the local like manners and stuff like that before you go, so that you're not shocked when a random Colombian comes up to you and gives you a hug, and you're just like, whoa, know that that's normal and know what's impolite and what not to do that, people might think is very offensive, but it's just something that normal Americans do. Like, this is totally off topic, but when my dad went to Japan, he stuck his chopsticks in his meal when he was done, and apparently that's like a major offense to the cook, but he didn't know. He was just being dumb and stuck his chopsticks in his meal. So things like that, just know how to
like what they respect and value, and that's a big one, because a lot of people, especially us Americans, I'm going to put us on the spot because we are known for that, definitely when we go out and travel, that we do not consider others. We're a little bit of the selfish kind. I'm not bashing America, but I'm just saying to definitely do your homework and research, because that's true. You don't want to disrespect another person, because when they come here, they are trying, or most of them are. I know that there's bad apples for every apple tree, but be the good apple and do your homework and research and be a good person no matter where you go.
Definitely. I think Colombia, I talked a bit about Ecuador. Colombia is incredible, especially the northern coast on the Caribbean side. It's just like a mixture of so many like old cultures. Like, you've got the Spanish influence with their old Spanish cities. You've got the Caribbean influence. You've got like the voodoo culture. You've got South American culture clashing up from the south side, and it's just an incredible mix of all these cultures. This is one of the oldest ports, been mixing of cultures for so many years. And one big thing is salsa dancing there. And we took a salsa dancing class, and the local who taught our salsa dancing class took us out to a local salsa dancing club.
That is so cool.
And it was a crazy experience. At midnight, like the midnight is like time where you like start going out there. Like, they don't close until 6 a.m. The club.
Oh my
goodness!
Like I don't know how it would
early.
last.
Oh,
I would show up at 4, because normally we get up between like
4. Right. Show up at 4 for the end of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was tough. It was my birthday too, so it's incredibly exciting. So we went out, and it was so like we walked in, and everybody's heads turned. We were the only white people in this entire place. And it was like one of those moments where you're like, okay, really, like, out of my comfort zone here. Like, everybody's looking at me right now. But it was automatic, like, welcome. Somebody, like, pulled us in, and they saw that we knew how to salsa dance from the lessons that we had just had. And they were, like, having a great time. Everybody was super welcoming. Nobody was judging us to, like, why you were here. And then a few hours later, the fire dancers came on with their, like, fire sticks and, like, balls that they were, like, throwing around and putting on a show. That was incredible. It was, and whenever we left the club we didn't stay until 6 a.m., but we left at 5. We left at 5. We left at 5. But, and I didn't feel it was in the city center, right in the middle of just madness, and I didn't feel threatened one bit, like not 1 ounce. And after you walk out into the city square, and there's like the big courtyard, or the Bolivar, as they call it, the square, and big giant barbecue. Like, all these street vendors came out at night. Like, I guess the people who have the restaurants bring their grills out and are just cooking meat and all this food. And then so you're like, oh, the party doesn't end. Like, barbecue time now. Like, I don't call it barbecue, but and so we had some food, and you just carry your beer out of the club into the Boliviar, and then some people are selling beers and walking around with coolers selling beers for a few souls, and
that is
the
so
party
cool.
just continues.
That makes me want to go to Colombia just for that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we left the club at 5, but we were with the local who taught our salsa dancing classes and some of her friends, and so we went with them to like where they usually go to party after the club with, you know, the barbecue place, and just everyone was just hanging out, having a good time.
So you pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah, it was I was like, oh,
I haven't done one of those in a long time.
Can't handle this. Like, whoa, but it was incredible. It was awesome. But another thing about Colombia, wear sunscreen. My friend that I was traveling with, we had been wearing sunscreen like crazy. Like, it is the way the sun puts
You're down by the equator, yeah. So it's like brutal.
Yeah, we lathered up all over, fantastic. She was wearing tennis shoes. She was wearing sneakers, Converse, and so she didn't put the sunscreen on her feet. She got a 2nd-degree sunburn on her top of her feet from just a few hours that we were playing at the beach.
Wow.
It was horrendous. It was like blistering, and so wear sunscreen. That was a huge tip.
So here's another thing. So I know like in Mexico, they like it to be bio-friendly.
Yes.
Is that how it is down there too?
Yes, definitely. There's a few places that we went to, like hot springs and stuff like that, where if you're wearing sunscreen, they make you shower off, and then they'll have you put like the proper sunscreen on. And another thing about being bio-friendly, the way that they preserve our natural resources in South America blew me away. Like, in America, we just trash, all this trash. They recycle everything. Like, everything is reused. Things aren't just thrown away. They don't have paper plates and stuff like that. And once a week in every big city, like cities that are bigger than New York, have it to where no cars can be on the road at all, except for public transportation, to like let the air clear out and breathe. And
they have certain days like that.
Yeah, once a week. Different cities, it's different
Wow.
days. Like, even in Sao Paulo, this huge mega city in South America, I think it was every Tuesdays. No cars, no public personal vehicles allowed on the road, only taxis and only public transportation buses were allowed. And there's just bicycles everywhere on those days.
That is so cool, and I bet you that a lot of people are fit too.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of athletic people. And people ride their bikes to work and ride the subway, the underground to work every day. And a lot of people don't have cars anyways in those big cities, but it's so refreshing just to see like the roads pretty much shut down and all of these people. And it was from all the way to Colombia. The first time we saw it was in Cartagena, Colombia, and we saw it in every major city that we went to. They're just willing to shut down the cars and the pollution for a day and put that sacrifice to ride your bike to work, or to not go to work that day, or to, make that sacrifice if you're a trucker who needs, is working, traveling. And these countries are struggling. Like, I don't like to talk about that because it's not a good light, but they're struggling. And if they're willing to put profits aside for the earth, we should be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like South America, especially when it comes to the environment, they are amazing at protecting it. Yeah, there are, some sad things that are happening there too, like the rainforest being cut down, and there's oil spills in the rainforest too. Like, nobody's perfect, but the amount of effort that they put in to keeping the environment nice and not putting so much waste, it's one of those things when whenever you go there and you see it, you're just blown away, and makes you think in a different way. It gives you new perspective.
I feel like the food's always different there too.
Yeah.
Like even a banana here in Texas, because we're in Texas, it tastes one way, and then you get a banana like down there, and it's like, wow, this is the same banana. Like this is what a natural banana is, one that came straight from the tree.
When we were doing a lot of our hikes, we could pick out fruit along the way and eat it. We didn't just like pick anything because we were sick, but we always had a guide. When we were in the rainforest in Ecuador, we had a guide. When we were in Peru, we had a guide, and there was only a few hikes we did without a guide. But if we did, they could tell us what fruits we can eat, and we ate all kinds of amazing just fruit right off the tree. It's pretty awesome.
So you sound really confident about your adventures and stuff like that. Was there ever a time that you were scared on your trip?
There was one time, and it was when we were crossing the border from Peru to Bolivia. Bolivia is in the center of the country. It's in the center of the continent. It's a small country, and it's very, very poor. It's very beautiful. That's where the salt flats were, and the salt flats are just like this mass area that's just salt, and it's like a mirror. You just see like blue everywhere. It's incredibly beautiful, and it's a beautiful country, but I did have a bad experience at the border. We were in line to cross, and Americans have to have a visa to enter Bolivia. And I was pulled out of the line by a Bolivian police officer, and he walked me back across the border to Peru. And at first, silly me, I'm like American, like, yes, authority figure, I do whatever you say. That's how I was raised. That's a huge American value. In Bolivia, you tell police officers no. It's what I should have done. But whenever he took me back across the border to Peru, he was no longer like in the country that he worked for. He stole all my money, tried to steal my passport, and it was very scary, and I was scared.
Oh my goodness.
And the people there, nobody there could help me at that point, because if they tried to help me, they would
also be in trouble, in danger.
Themselves in danger. And it was pretty scary, but in the end, I was okay. I got back to the Bolivian side, and I tried to make a report, and the bus driver told me, there's absolutely nothing you can do. Bolivian police officers rape women that come in here, rob women that come through here. They do whatever they want. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
That's what I was told by the bus driver, and I tried to make a report there, and the person that I was going to make the report told me, don't do it here. It's too dangerous for you to make a report here. So I called the American embassy once we got through to the town that we were going to in Bolivia, and I reported what happened to the American embassy, and that's pretty much all I could do.
So he did take your passport, or no?
No, I got my passport back, luckily. There was like a bit of a struggle like in the street in Peru, and I pretty much just made a scene, and I had quite a bit of money on me because I had to buy my visa at the border. We had originally planned to go Peru to Brazil, but this route was a better route, and we got to see the salt flats, and we had some extra time, and it was just a last minute decision. Also, if you're going to travel somewhere where you need a visa, you should get a visa before you go. Learn from my mistake. And so when we got there, when we were on the other side of the border, there was a confrontation, and I basically had the choice, like, give him the money now, or he might try to do something to harm me and try to get my passport. And in the struggle, he kind of let go of my passport a little bit to go for the money, and I swiped my passport and bolted. and left him with the money. And he had a lot of money, and it was in American dollars because you had to buy the Bolivian visa in American dollars. So for that, it was quite a lot of money. So I believe that's why he kind of just let me go. And I ran back across the border to the Bolivian side. And the girl I was traveling with was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And so in Bolivia, I kind of became like a little bit of a hard ass when it came around to police officers. We were actually, after the Salt Flats, we were leaving to go to Brazil, and two sketchy looking police officers they weren't police officers, and people wearing khaki pants and a stupid shirt that was like obviously fake, was like, show us your passports. I was like, no, you're not. It's not happening. And they like tried to get aggressive with us and like say, well, they're gonna arrest me. And the boss said, go ahead, arrest me. You can't. You're clearly a fake police officer. And they left us alone. You just stand your ground.
Wow.
But I still think that even though that was scary at that point of time, I'm so glad I went to Bolivia. The Salt Flats.
Oh yeah, I've seen your photos.
They were incredible. And I was on the phone telling my boyfriend Lucas about what had just happened on the border, and the worker at the place that we were going to, the Salt Flats, moved us up to a first class seat on the bus. We had like a bigger seat and it leaned back, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. So, there's, like I said, good people and bad people everywhere.
Yeah.
It all goes back to that, really.
Well, do you have anything else to add to this episode about South America?
I think that South America is a beautiful continent. It's got so much diversity in nature, in culture, and that you shouldn't let anything stop you from going there if you want to. I think that you will enjoy the experience a lot if you choose to go there.
I think so too. I like the culture. I like the scenery. I like the food.
Yes.
And like just the atmosphere, like just everything really. I don't really have any complaints about it. The only complaint I would have is when I've gone and stayed at like the big resorts. I like it better when I'm embracing the locals. Like I'm getting to know them, I'm traveling with them or getting tips from them, following their lead kind of thing. But definitely South America is a really cool place to go.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to have to get over to Colombia sometime. That sounds awesome.
Colombia was
and
my
Ecuador.
absolute favorite. Definitely.
Because of that one night?
In general, like that one night was amazing with the salsa dancing, but Colombia and Ecuador, just the vibe from everyone and the nature and the rainforest, and it was incredible.
Well, that is really, I'm so glad you're here today because this has been an awesome episode talking about South America, because it's not like you get to hear these stories that often. I don't know that many people that go backpacking through South America. So it's pretty special to have you on here, especially since we went to high school together.
I know, it's awesome.
And we share a mutual best friend. And again, because this is the Wanderpreneur show, even traveling, the way Brittany is explaining things can always relate back to business by planning and preventing and prepping. It's those three things that go into traveling and into business that will help you have a successful experience with good memories and lessons, of course, because business, traveling, life, everything has lessons in it. And I wanted to just touch on that before we ended it. Again, Brittany, I'm so honored and grateful that you came today to be on the episode all about South America backpacking. And for everyone else, if you would like to join the Wanderpreneur movement on Facebook, the link is in the bio. And I will see you next time. So I'll see y'all later, guys. Bye.
Bye.